What is back? We were talking about Fermi IPO. Hopefully you're seeing this before it opens tomorrow. Look at this headline. Fermi IPO offers a chance to own a Donald J. Trump generating plant. What know about it? Well, what's know about is Trump is not backing this thing. Trump is whatsoever not involved in this, to my knowledge, as of right now. There's nothing confirming it. The plant is going to be named after Donald Trump. That's why a lot of news stations, these articles have been saying that about Trump, but there is some connection to Trump, which is why it's really interesting to see this, but just don't believe that Trump's anywhere in this, at least as of right now. So maybe I'll clickbait you on Trump there, but let's look at my past little predictions. I'll land my highest rated was Figure, doing pretty good. That was a crypto, that was the blockchain banking system, largest blockchain banking system, and then the last one I had the largest, in the between limit gains and allocate sum was WaterBridge as a oil and natural gas play, which is kind of similar to actually to the one we're going over right now. We're going over size, valuation, business model, financials compared to past IPOs, institutional investing, and retail hype. So let's get into it. A $13 billion valuation is the size right now. Pretty large thing. Notably, they were created this year, which I'm going to go over in a little bit. I'm going to go over everything, even some questions later. So if you have questions, don't worry about it. Drop in the comment, or I'll say it in this video. So $13 billion valuation. As we've seen, size doesn't really matter. Size doesn't matter. WaterBridge was $2 billion valuation. It did well. So we had StubHub and Klarna, huge valuations. They did pretty bad. So valuations are only good if the company itself is good, and this one might be helping it. Business model: power, data centers, AI, renewable energy, and it's a REIT. So a lot of people will not know exactly what this REIT is, and I'll get into exactly what a REIT is later. It might not be exactly what you think. A real estate investment trust. No revenue. This thing is pre-revenue. It was made in 2025. It got its first big actual backing, 350 million right here. If you saw 350 million being backed right here. It just got that literally last month. As comparison, I'm going to do WaterBridge because it was another technically energy sector, oil, natural gas here. Retail hop 9 out of 10. This Trump news, even though technically a little bit clickbaity, it's not really true. It's helping the hype, and since it's in a really good sector, it's actually priced in at $21, and it's open right now. So if you want to put in more, you can go ahead and do that. Maybe after watching this video. So founded literally this year, it is a little more than 6 months old, pre-revenue, $13 billion valuation. Like I said, the only good, you might be saying, oh, this is terrible, but the thing is, if you look at something like Gemini that popped off and absolutely tanked after that, Gemini had terrible financials. So the good thing about no revenue is we have no confirmation that it's good, gonna do well, or no confirmation that's gonna do bad. So it's like a 50-50 here, right? Of course, you don't have confirmation that's good, but we don't have confirmation that's bad. So there's nothing really pushing it down the same level of Gemini was tanking in there. So buy and sell. This is going to be a fast mover. I have two strategies for IPO, for limit orders specifically, fast movers and slow movers, and I think this thing is going to do a fast mover. So who is this dude? Former Texas governor and energy secretary. This man right here, Mr. Ricky. So the thing is, this is why he probably named it after Trump. He was working under Trump as an energy secretary underneath him, serving one of his terms, his first term. And also, he was the former governor of Texas, a red state. Red governor. Good connection with Trump, names it after Trump. Maybe Trump will come in later, but this is projected, he's projecting it to be the #1 hybrid nuclear energy and renewable energy center inside right now. And in comparison, there is other players in Texas right now, a bunch of startups just like his, so it's not totally new, but his valuation size is pretty impressive, at least for what he is valuing himself, named after Trump. Like I said, it is not Trump backed as of right now, even though this man has some really good connections on the red side to Trump, which is a really nice to see and really interesting thing I didn't know until I did read one of those articles. So of course, main contracts are with turbine equipment from Siemens Energy, as we see right here. Their energy sector has done absolutely amazing. Nuclear energy, to be specific. These ones aren't nuclear energies, but even with that, they have done amazing. 200% in last year, and 141% for GE Verana, which is General Electric when they split. I hold regular General Electric, not this version. The aerospace version is still all the same. They have done amazing. 2 contracts, major contracts right here for equipment. They do have a lease for 99 years, which is probably the largest around in Texas right now for a pretty large area, but they do not have any service or revenue or anything to back it so far. That is why there's some question marks around here. So what is it? It's a REIT. What is a REIT? It's technically a REIT. So a REIT allows you to own part of the real estate. So when you're buying it, you technically buying the company, but you're buying a piece of the real estate that's actually owned part of the data center nuclear business. So it's not like a straight something. If you were to buy Constellation Energy, you buy the stock, you're actually buying part of the real estate, which is really cool. That's why real estate doesn't really appreciate as much as regular stocks, right? Even though it takes a large amount of money to get into real estate. So that's why a REIT was a form of vehicle investing where everyday person can get into a piece of real estate, which is why regular REITs have a fixed dividend, which they don't move basically at all, but the dividend payout is going to be like 5 to 9%, for even less for that, for a REIT, for a regular rental property, or maybe it was a hotel REIT or something like that. You own a piece of the property when you buy inside the stock market. That's what a REIT is for. So a usual REIT is going to give you dividends and not growth, and it's not going to be growthy at all. But the thing is, what a nice decision Fermi has made, even though they're a REIT, and almost like 99% of REITs give dividends because they're for income investing, that's for when you're older and you need payouts for dividends, it's going to reinvest the money back into the growth of the company, which is very exponential growth because it is a very growthy company in a rising sector, data centers, nuclear energy, renewable energy, and actually solar has tanked very for the last 5-10 years, but it's actually making it come back now, which is it's primed to do well in this. The only thing, of course, no revenue, of course, but yeah, having the growth. Their goal is to be the world's largest hybrid nuclear energy plant, as I said, at least the biggest in Texas as of right now. That's our current goal, expand larger here. They're trying to get their projected 1 gigawatt natural gas power plant and starting with natural gas, not nuclear. Interesting decision here. They're starting off gigawatt, which is actually a really, I can't even imagine how I can explain the number. They want to total out as 11. I can contribute this to Tom Lee, B-Minar. If you don't know what that is, his goal is to become the largest Ethereum treasury, like MicroStrategy, something like that, which is this goal is, of course, is going to drive a lot of hype and can be their staple of their motto. They're probably going to reiterate over and over and over again, which you're probably going to hear it a lot if this company does end up popping up and be big. So like I said, the sectors that have done the best, they're in these 3 sectors: nuclear energy, natural gas, and renewables. Nuclear energy has absolutely popped off these last 5 years. I have held Constellation Energy, Vistra Energy, and a lot of smaller nuclear plays like UUUU. They have done absolutely amazing that past year, crushing it 500, even 1,000%. Natural gas oil always does good year round. This is the centerpiece for any infrastructure play, for any energy play, always oil and natural gas. Nuclear has been more of a new thing since AI takes so much to actually power. Nuclear is actually more of a new development that's actually done amazing. And renewables, of course, that's where you get your solar panels, wind energy. Specifically, this one I think is focusing on solar. When I saw the concepts, and especially in the first picture, it had a lot of solar. So, and solar was actually not doing as well because it was having a hard time keeping up. But the thing is, solar is making a bounce back. I don't have it on here, but for solar, the most notable solar company in the stock market is actually coming back. I think up 60% in the last 6 months. Unfortunately, it's still down like 20% in total for the past year or 5 years, but it's making its way back. So they are all on the rise right now, especially nuclear doing well, natural gas, and renewables. Total of 11 gigawatts of power right here. So, like I said, is a fast mover or slow mover? Let's get into actual IPO strategy base. So I have like a slow mover was what I did literally with Pattern. Pattern was a good company, profitable, went way underneath its IPO price. IPO, at least on Robinhood, has not ever opened underneath its IPO price, at least in the last year. So I bought in there, 7% down, ended the day with a 14% up for a total of 17% profit. Or throughout my sales, I sold most of it at break even and most of it up. So I made around 7% on that. Only short-term investing I do is in IPOs. Everything else is real trading isn't really my thing. I'm a long-term investor. But specifically for IPOs, a lot of these can be overvalued at the beginning. Fast-moving strategy. What's gonna happen? I'm fast mover is a limit order, so you expect this thing to absolutely pop off. So at least for pre-IPO and I've been many failed fast movers. So Pattern was a failed. Believe it or not, Figure was a failed fast mover. As when it opened 2020, when it opened up, it was barely above IPO price, and it actually went down in the first couple hours. So I didn't make money off that. Same thing with Klarna. I made 1% off of Klarna. But the thing is, the fast-moving limit order strategy, it really has a minimized downside, of course. So basically what it is when it opens in the stock market, the thing is, it opens at a specific time, right? When it opens, all limit orders go in at once to snipe the buy price. A limit order is where you can just put your price above what it is, and if it's anything under, it will fill, okay? So they all go in at once. So basically, one thing will happen if the supply, all the buys going up. I'm reiterating myself, but let's get to the point, right? If it stays flat, that means there wasn't enough buys at the beginning for it to actually trade up. It's going to trade flat for a little bit because there wasn't increased selling pressure, because you can't set something up this auto sell right at open, right? So if there's not enough buys, it's going to trade flat, which means it's eventually going to trade down because all the mass buying is going to be at the open with the limit order. So if it's flat, you sell out. That's why I got my 1% up on Klarna and my like 0.5% down loss on pattern, because it didn't do anything, right? You just get out. But this is for somebody that has time, of course. So, but the thing we want is it might spike up in the first few seconds because tons of people have limit orders, and then people see it fly, and more people get in, and there's not barely any selling. Simple supply and demand, it's going to fly up in the first few seconds, and it's going to keep flying, and then you sell into weakness whenever it starts to drop, because of course it's going to be overvalued. There's a company cannot create valuation in 1 second, let alone a day or a week. They have to create over years and years and years. So, and the good price point where this thing should open, which we know it should be a good enough amount oversubscribed, at least 25 times oversubscribed, 20 to 25 times oversubscribed, and 25% at open. That means I'm predicting this thing to, if it's a good limit order strategy, if it actually hits, it's gonna be up 25% before this thing even opens, hopefully, to be good. If not, then we'll have to look at some other considerations, maybe a slow mover if this thing goes under. Take lots of caution in this. It has no revenue. Like I said, some people are like more fundamental investors, just like saying, hey, what the heck are we even doing? No revenue at all. Some people are saying Trump's name, nuclear energy, AI. Oh my gosh. All the trigger words for all the degenerate investors are going to absolutely go on this thing. So take advantage. This thing's going to move pretty fast. Like I said, might be Gemini fast. Gemini was $2 billion valuation. This thing is $13 billion. That means there's a lot more shares out there, which means it will be fast, but not as fast as Gemini, because there's a lot more shares trading around and the same amount of buyers inside the market, of course. And after it opens, this thing is going to be, if you do plan this thing to hold on long term, which I never hold any of my IPOs long term, which I probably should have for a figure, but that's just not what I do with my strategy. You should be really attentive to the news, because basically, like I said, they're projected to do 1 gigawatt renewable energy open by 2026. But the thing is, the news change, and if they report that they're behind or ahead, the stock could have volatile swings based on that news. Of course, I've never seen a REIT that's been extremely volatile, but if there is, it probably would be this one, of course. No revenue, just a vision. Like I said, a dream, a vision, good management, good backing by some specific investing firms. And of course, that is the end of the video here. I didn't talk about Neptune Holdings, which is the insurance company. It's also IPOing on the same day. That one might do well. I just want to get this one quick out there. If you have any questions, I'll answer them in the comments below. Hopefully you're saying this before the day. I'm going to be in school. I am not streaming. But of course, I was very, very skeptical of this. But I'm just giving you all the facts straight ahead. Hopefully I didn't give up the fact that I was too bullish. I actually got pretty excited once I started reading about this thing earlier yesterday and earlier today. So I just want to make a quick video. Always stay skeptical on things like this. And of course, if you don't have enough time to do a limit order and you can't be watching this thing, I'm gonna be in class, but towards the beginning of my class, I'll be able to watch it to get in and out. If you're not, just do pre-IPO or just don't put any in all, because this thing can move extremely fast and it might even be down at the end of the day. That's why you should always use a specific amount of your portfolio. Don't full port. That's just stupid. Because IPOs now, a lot of them end up actually being underneath their IPO price in the first week or something like that. So please take extreme caution. I'll just give you all the facts, who's behind it, pros and cons of this thing. Pretty obvious pros and cons. The pros, amazing business model. Cons, they haven't done anything with the business model yet. Another pro, potential. They named after Donald Trump. Of course, Governor of Texas, extremely red. So, in cahoots, Trump is currently in office for the next 3 years. This thing can thrive. Trump is pro-business. Republicans are pro-business. Of course, there could be something going on there. Like I said, the last recent time Trump was actually in the market was a World Liberty coin on crypto, which should have popped, but for some reason it traded flat. And the other one was Hut 8 stock by Donald Trump Jr. He actually is he's part on the team for Hut 8, if you didn't know. But the thing is, all mining companies have somehow shot up because they're extremely undervalued, because they've all fallen over the last 5 years, because Bitcoin has done better than the mining company. But sorry for the yapping. I have over 100 share order into this. I think about 3 point something thousand dollars. Of course, that is a larger part of my portfolio. But I don't think, but the things, if this thing doesn't do good, it's probably not going to move that much, and I don't really expect it to get filled. And limit order, I basically have limited downside and unlimited upside, basically. So, of course, do your risk management, be safe. I'm out, guys.